Psychologists face a difficult task when they set out to understand the nature of behavior and the workings of the brain and mind. This researcher is trying to draw an accurate picture of the brain's electrical activity associated with different mental illnesses. But he and his colleagues have one strong ally that makes success possible: the scientific method, a set of general procedures for gathering and interpreting data.
Keep your eyes closed and keep your mouth slightly open.
To be accurate, data must be collected from carefully controlled observations and measurements. And other researchers working independently must be able to obtain the same results using the same methods.
What kinds of places do you usually go to when you want to meet somebody either that you want to have a relationship with?
Interviews, surveys, questionnaires, and psychological tests are some of the methods psychologists use to explore our personalities, values, talents, and the effects of our environment. Some psychologists conduct experiments in laboratories like this one, designed for carefully controlling conditions and measuring behavior. The laboratory is one place where scientists test hypotheses, that is, predictions of how two or more factors are likely to be related. To test a hypothesis, researchers randomly assign some subjects to an experimental group which receives the treatment. Other subjects are assigned to the control group that does not receive the treatment. The results are then compared. Other research is carried out in the field, where naturally occurring ongoing behavior can be observed. This researcher is studying how the social behavior of baboons affects their health.
Looks like an FB-111.
Psychological research is also conducted in locations as unusual as this Air Force flight simulator.
One of the most important tasks you can be asked to perform as a fighter pilot is to visually identify features and markings on another airplane. If you'd look at the aircraft, cover your left eye, and read what you see, please.
All right. F, D, T, L, T.
Wherever it happens and whatever methods are used, basic psychological research carried out scientifically gives us a good shot at the truth. And if we understand how these researchers separate fact from fiction, perhaps we too can avoid some of the pitfalls of faulty reasoning and unwarranted conclusions in our everyday lives. The point here is not to make you all practicing psychologists, but to make you better consumers of would-be facts and theories, especially those you take for granted. One of the most remarkable things about us humans is how many of our beliefs we accept without question. These beliefs form a subjective reality that can influence how we perceive the world. They can affect our everyday plans, whom we choose to associate with and trust, and even our health. Some of our beliefs come from our culture. For example, what it teaches us about male and female roles, beauty, and courage. And each culture has its own belief systems and sense of humor.
Lactel, les mamelles de la France.
Other powerful beliefs come from each individual's experiences and motivations, developed through personal interaction with the world. Our individual experience may also include the learning of critical thinking skills so that we can test our beliefs against scientific understanding.
What did you decipher the main ideas from what you read?
They danced around the fire, louder and louder and faster and faster.
If we don't learn how to think critically, we may believe in the unproven and the unexplained. Or become willing recruits in a never-ending stream of religious, social, and political cults. True believers who blindly accept authority rather than think for themselves. Research reveals that for many of the 25 million Americans without high school diplomas, the world can be a confusing and threatening place. These people often feel that they are controlled by fate and can do little to control their own lives. Many of them are also inclined to believe in psychic predictions, mystical forces, and cosmic signs, as do some better educated people. In fact, belief in mystical forces such as Haitian voodoo can be so potent that it can transform psychological and biological reality, for better or for worse. It can sometimes cure the sick or kill the healthy. At the Johns Hopkins University, common features shared by miracle cures, faith healing, political and religious conversions, and psychotherapy are studied by research psychiatrist Jerome Frank.
All forms of psychological healing, that is trying to influence people through words, share certain common healing features. I guess the first of those is the kind of relationship with a healer, a person who inspires confidence in the patient, makes him feel he can trust him, inspires the patient's hopes, is a very important ingredient. And then there's always a healing setting of some kind, almost always, a shrine, let us say, or a doctor's office, or a clinic even.
My feet were sort of cemented down to the floor.
Inaction, frozen.
There is a third that I guess they have in common, and that's they increase a patient's sense of mastery, of control over what's happening. See, the thing human beings can least stand is chaos. That's the most frightening experience there is. And anything that gives people a sense that they're in control again is a very important boost to their morale. And mentioning that one brings up a common feature of all these procedures, and that is if they work at all, they do it through arousing the person emotionally. He feels things as a result, happy or sad or frightened or angry. Mainly, I would say relief. Sometimes anxiety, because you get into areas that make him more anxious, make him or her more anxious than before. Belief is really crucial to a healing process of any sort, because without the belief, the person does not participate in any real way. They may go through the motions, they may listen politely, as many patients do, but nothing happens to them unless they really believe that this can help them.
Sometimes it is the power of this belief that a treatment will work that results in the cure, and not any special power of the supposed treatment itself. The scientific term for this phenomenon is the placebo effect. In medicine, a placebo is a substance such as a sugar pill that has no direct pharmacological effect, but which can have a therapeutic effect on pain and sickness in people who believe it will work. History suggests that placebos have been responsible for much of the therapeutic success of treatments throughout the centuries. In ancient Egypt, patients were often treated with lizard's blood and crocodile dung. Later, physicians used leeches to suck the blood of patients, or made their patients vomit, or froze them, or overheated them. Many of these patients died, but those who survived often swore by their treatment. Just think of how many more testimonials there might have been if these physicians had been content to use just sugar pills. Placebos can be so effective that virtually any credible, socially sanctioned treatment administered in an appropriate context can have a moderate success.
Okay, I didn't even feel that.
Rays come out from your body, from that center.
Even the mere believable suggestion that a treatment will work is sufficient to make about 1/3 of sick people feel better, according to recent studies. You can imagine, though, how the placebo effect complicates the job of a researcher. How do you know whether it's a specific treatment that's working or just the fact of being given any treatment? One solution is what's known as the double-blind procedure. You give some subjects the real treatment and others the placebo, and don't tell them which is which. In fact, even the researcher or therapist giving out the treatment can't know, so the results won't be biased.